What's up, guys? Bluddshed here. Welcome to episode 6 of the Bludd Heart Podcast. I'm your host, Bluddshed. What we do here is talk about all things Diablo, and then we branch out into gaming news and entertainment. Lots of fun stuff here. I post episodes on Tuesdays, and they should post on all major platforms like Spotify, YouTube, pretty much everywhere, Stitcher, and you can check the description of the YouTube video for more details. So the YouTube video would be the way to get into contact with me. We have some very nice topics today. The first one includes Frank Pearce. Oof, right? Another founder leaving Blizzard. Comic-Con trailers, namely The Witcher, is probably the winner for me this year. And we have the Overwatch Role Queue System finally here, finally coming. So we'll get into that. But first, my weekend was great. On Saturday, we streamed and we did the Wheel of Death. If you guys are unfamiliar with the Wheel of Death, it's like a challenge, bunch of challenges. We spin the wheel, it lands on something, and we have to perform the task. Like, we had a challenge where I had to push a personal best, right? I had to push my character to the maximum, and we had to read Diablo lore. So that was very interesting. I didn't realize how hard it would be to read paragraphs upon paragraphs of Diablo lore while pushing my character on hardcore and trying not to die. One thing I realized about Diablo lore is, damn, everybody actually hates us. Like, literally, the demons hate us. The angels hate us. Even Tyrael at first didn't really like us. And we were created by Inarius and Lilith. So a quick rundown, okay? Inarius is an angel, and Lilith is the daughter of Mephisto. They were tired of the endless wars of heaven and hell. They were over it. They were like, you know what? Let's make a third faction, I guess. And maybe there's like-minded people like me. So Inarius found Lilith, and they basically stole the World Stone and created Sanctuary as you know it. So they created Sanctuary. They made humans, but then they still have their own agendas, right? Like maybe Lilith wanted to create a Nephilim army to attack everybody. So even though they wanted to break away from war, they still were kind of obsessed with war, or like eradicating their enemies, I guess. So everyone has like their own political agendas. And we basically said no. So another thing I didn't realize is everyone's a Nephilim because it didn't exist before that. So not only does everybody hate us, Nephilims, like everyone's a Nephilim, but I guess they're like X-Men, you know, they have like various levels of superpowers. So yeah, certain heroes, I guess, have stronger powers than others. So even our creators ended up hating us. And here we are just being a nuisance, running Sanctuary. We're just trying to live our best life, you know, like it's not our fault we got created. We're just trying to do what we can do to keep back the demons of hell. But maybe at some point we'll have a bonus lore podcast, and I'll maybe like a 100th episode, or maybe some kind of series, maybe like a Halloween or something. We'll do like a bonus lore series, and we'll just kind of deep dive and make some jokes about everything. So that was Saturday, and Sunday was my day off. I went with some friends to Ballast Point Brewery. Really awesome stuff. Really good food, really good beer. Had a bunch of flights. Sampled a bunch of beer. There was some good sours. I'm definitely more of an IPA guy, and they had this pineapple IPA that was pretty bomb.com. I would recommend it if you ever go there. Yeah, Ballast Point in San Diego, real chill spot. Also recommend the pretzel. The pretzel was super litty, man. I like me some bar food when I have a couple of drinks with some buddies. It's always the best. Another thing I did was I bought a book in 2019. It's not just reading a book, it's the fact that I bought a physical copy of a book. So there was a book called Sapiens, like the history of mankind. I've been wanting to read it, and I was walking around the mall doing some errands and this and that. And there was the Amazon bookstore, right? And I'm like, okay, there's no way this book is here. Like they barely have any books in general, right? It's mostly like ebooks, like the Kindle Fire and all that stuff. I was like, I'll just walk in, and what happens? The first table right in front of me is the book. And it's basically like a book on how humans evolved and the inner workings of the mind. And I'm super into this kind of stuff. I think it's nice. The author looks at the mind in a lot of different ways. And yeah, it's always been a topic that has intrigued me. Let me know if you've read the book. It's called Sapiens. And it was actually recommended first by someone in my chat. So if you're out there, whoever you are, thank you for recommending it. I'm super excited to start reading this book. And I guess the big takeaway is I walked into a bookstore in 2019 and purchased a physical book. Yo, does anyone still buy physical books? Yo, tell me, man, tell me. That's just about it for my weekend. Let's talk about Diablo news. So there's really no Diablo news other than, yo, Bludd wins the season start and wins the patch and all this stuff. And that's actually coming out hopefully today. So this is posting on Tuesday. And we typically get big news on Tuesdays to Fridays. Like, this is a week I think we're going to get a lot of news coming from the Diablo camp. So I guess the big news is maintenance today. While you're listening to this, I might be testing the PTR right now. Yeah. And yeah, that's what I do. So like last season, right, or this current season, we had those galactic wings. And galactic wings were the top tier of the season journey. So what I did is I was like, okay, the only way to actually look at the wings and make sure they're working properly, the only way to properly test the galactic wings is to grab them, right? So we turned on the PTR and we leveled from 1 all the way to the season journey. So we did the entire season journey in one sitting just to test these galactic wings. So if it's happening again, if the PTR is getting a cosmetic, you can bet your ass I'll be doing this all over again. I'm probably doing this right now while you're listening to the podcast. If the patch is out, in a perfect scenario. If this is like a time capsule for the future, the one thing I wish for the PTR is that we have a PTR, right? My one wish is that they swing. They either play it safe or they swing for the fences. Either way, it'll be fun, right? Just getting 3 patches in 3 seasons is really amazing. And we love the content updates in Diablo. Like, we love this stuff, right? So what I mean by taking a swing for it, you can either play it safe and, just buff LTK. You can just buff like whatever ability, like, Whirlwind Barb, right? You take these underperforming builds and you just drop a bigger multiplier on them and a decent seasonal theme and we'll be happy. Honestly, like, that's good enough. We'll get new builds and a new season theme. It's kind of like the bare minimum, but it's good enough for me, I guess, because it keeps it interesting for me because I like playing new builds and I already love the game, so you don't have to convince me any further. Or they can take a swing at this. They can swing for the fences and do something that we didn't even realize. And it's really risky, high risk, high reward. It's really risky, but it might pay off. It could be really awesome to give us something that we didn't even, think of. And I'm just really excited to see these patch notes, and hopefully we can check them out as soon as possible together. All right, let's get on to some community questions. Now, I get all kinds of community questions, but one question in particular this week stood out. Somebody asked me, yo, Bludd, what do you think the plot would be for Diablo 4? Like, what's the storyline? What do you think, man? And I was like, oh my God, that's a good question. Maybe we'll answer that on the podcast. So if you're out there, person, I'm sorry I don't remember you. I need to start writing down usernames. Thank you so much for the question. Well, I would say if I was making Diablo 4 and I was trying to think of a storyline, the only character, the most popular character is Deckard Cain and Tyrael. I guess the top 2 right now. A lot of people like, Mephisto and Diablo, and it might be interesting to have a campaign based on an evil kind of character, like a different wave. But I would keep it classic, and I would probably make a campaign to save Cain. Like, we go to hell and rescue Cain from the depths of hell. That would be such an epic storyline, and I don't know, like, it could just be like the first act or the final act. We can travel to hell and we can get prepared, and there's like a portal to hell, and then we can find him and bring him back, or some kind of resurrection for act 1. You go through a bunch of challenges and things in the storyline, you get a bunch of parts, and there's an ancient spell and we're able to resurrect Cain. I think that'd be super cool. And if he did get resurrected, all right, I think I'd want Old, he has to be old, right? But maybe not super old. Maybe like George Clooney old, you know? Maybe like a salt and peppered Kane, you know? Stay a while, but I'm not so hunchback anymore. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool to have him, you know, a little sprightly, and then maybe he's like way powerful and he's more like wizardy and a little bit more powerful than he was previously, but still all knowing, all knowledgeable. A plot centered around Kane would definitely, I think, boost sales too. I mean, everybody knows Kane's like really iconic. A lot of games I play have references. Like I was playing Graveyard Keeper and they have reference to Deckard Cain as well. Like a lot of games, right? It's just so iconic that I think maybe a quest revolving around him or even Tyrael, do something with Tyrael where maybe his powers start growing at a crazy rate and he's like, you know, he's on Earth, or Sanctuary, and maybe he's absorbing a lot of the powers of Sanctuary and he becomes some super being. I don't know. It'd be cool to be centered around a character that we know and love. And that would, I guess, bring us more into the story and just be more meaningful / impactful overall. Always let me know what you guys think. You can tweet me or you can drop a paragraph or two in Discord. Let us know. All right, let's crack into some of these news stories. Let's talk about some other gaming news and stuff like that. So Frank Pearce, all you Blizzard fans out there, Frank Pearce left the company after 28 years. And yikes, man, his departure comes only a few months after Mike Morhaime jumped ship in April. So this is like 2 founders, 3 in the last and recent memory. 3 of the original founders like of Blizzard, before it was even Blizzard, left the company. And man, it's actually insane. Like that, it's kind of there's 2 parts of this I'll talk about. The first part is it's insane. 30% of me is like not scared but worried, man. Like I'm like, is this even Blizzard anymore? Like the actual people who created it aren't even there. They don't really have their hands in stuff. It looks like, at least on the surface, we don't know everything that goes on in the company. But you know, people leaving, man. What's going on? You know, about 30% of me is like, okay, what? You know, it does change things, and they helped create everything that we love. So first of all, yeah, I mean, shout out to Frank, man, Frank Pearce, Mike, everyone who created this company that we love. I mean, 2 of my top 2 favorite games of all time are Diablo and World of Warcraft. So, I mean, they created like some of my so much joy and stuff like that. So big salute, man, to you guys for doing what you did. Much love and all that stuff, right? All the respect in the world. Now, the 70% of me, okay? Unpopular opinion. The 70% of me is like, honestly, like World of Warcraft hasn't really gotten that many patches over the last few years. Even if you take BFA out of the whole equation, because it's, you know, it's kind of like the worst expansion in a while. If you take out BFA and you just look at everything else, they really don't get patched that often. They don't get that much content. And if you look at Diablo, you don't really get that much content. Like just recently, right? Just recently, Overwatch has gotten some crazy changes. Just recently, Diablo's been getting patched like crazy in a way. And that's only like the new wave, right? But the last 6 years or whatever, it's kind of been like old school, slow. It's ready when it's ready. And it's not really good for the landscape. So Diablo, Overwatch, and World of Warcraft, kind of meh on patches, man. And a big part of me thinks like a new wave, a new fresh set of eyes. And even said in his blog post, he says, the time has come for me to step away from Blizzard and pass the torch to the next generation of leaders. So I think, yeah, man, I think honestly, like a new generation, a fresh set of eyes, right? New ideas. And they need like a crazy development team to keep up with all the amount of patches. Like the games, people have so much choice nowadays. You really need to patch the game consistently to stay up on it. Even if it's just little things you're adding, mounts or cosmetics or like, you know, small features, and then maybe you work on a big patch in the background. You have to update the game. There's so much competition and there's so many companies that are grinding and really pushing out consistent content in general. Like you have to do this. And I think I guess I'm overall, I usually have a different opinion, right? I think overall, I'm excited for the future. And I think it's already shown in the games that we love. Like we've been getting patches like nonstop. This World of Warcraft Classic team has been crushing it, really bringing back old school Classic. Besides Leeway, I don't know about this Leeway mechanic. We'll talk about that maybe in the future. But overall, I feel like the company's been really good over this last year, and it feels amazing, man. If I've been paying attention, I think it's good, and I'm excited for the future. Besides spending his millions and millions of dollars, he said he's excited to go outside and learn an instrument. So it's nice. It's a nice, after probably grinding your butt off for 28 years, to, go like Thrall, man. Go out into the pasture, the green, and chill and relax and raise a family and all that stuff. Yeah, the Thrall cinematic. Yeah, man, go enjoy it, brother. Thank you for all that you've done. I appreciate that. Let's talk about these Comic-Con trailers. There was a lot of hype stuff in terms of TV shows and movies coming out of Comic-Con. We had freaking Terminator and Top Gun, these oldies but goodies. They're both dope trailers. You should watch them. It's super awesome. And I'm excited to see like these older movies, to a newer, younger audience, or like the continuation or the final of the series, or I don't know what they're going to be. I know that Terminator one looks so badass. Like, I think the director from Deadpool did the movie, or he does the fighting, the choreography, because it looks super good, brutal, visceral, a lot of like just guns and punching, and it looks super good, man. I'm excited more for Terminator, but Top Gun does look great as well. HBO's putting out a few dope shows. We got His Dark Materials. It's a book series. I never read it. It's a fantasy book series where one soul manifests as shape-shifting animals called demons. So there's like a giant Volibear on the cover. It kind of looks like the League of Legends Volibear. So I don't know what's happening. It's like high fantasy. It looks super interesting. It's coming from HBO, so they got the budget, and they're really good at making, super good shows. Besides, season 8's it's their besides season 8, man. All right, we won't get into it, okay? And that's coming fall this year. And The Watchmen, right? The Watchmen trailer is coming out October this year as well. So to kind of fill that maybe Game of Thrones void, there's a lot of fantasy shows I noticed specifically. Now that Game of Thrones is gone, they kind of dominated for many years. I feel like there's a lot of fantasy shows maybe that they created like a power vacuum. They created all this wave, and maybe people want to absorb another world. And personally for me, something that is a little sci-fi or high fantasy, if they do it right, it pulls me into the world because it's so different and you just want to learn more. And it's like you don't really know what could happen, right? But like and if it's set in modern day in our world, I guess I know the limitations for the most part. So it's kind of interesting when you have these crazy worlds and they bring you in. I feel like I'm more immersed than ever. So Watchmen, and then you have His Dark Materials, both good trailers. And then Westworld, speaking of bringing you into a whole new world. I won't talk about Westworld trailer because it does cause a lot of spoilers. But it looks super duper good. You can take my word for it. One thing I can tell you is Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad joins the cast of Westworld. And early reports say that he's doing a phenomenal job on the show. So you get Jesse, man. Aaron Paul's Jesse. And the trailer that won for me is probably The Witcher of Comic-Con. The new Netflix show, The Witcher. We talked about it before. Oh my God. Some people don't like this trailer. And I know I always lead with that because it's like a polarizing. You love it or you hate it. I'm in the love it camp. Okay. I think it's so dope. And it's set more so on the books, which is okay with me. It still looks like the video game because the video game is based on the books also, right? It kind of looks like the same thing. If you don't know, the dude that played Superman who's playing The Witcher, it just looks super good. The first season is going to focus more on political intrigue. There's not going to be like a main villain in season 1. It's going to probably set the tone, show us what a Witcher is. And he's probably going to fight monsters, and it's probably going to lay the groundwork for future seasons. But yeah, there's a lot of like, I guess, political back and forth, kind of like a Game of Thrones is what they were saying. And it's coming out later this year, I believe. It says to be determined or whatever, but everyone's saying it's going to come out at some point this year. One thing in particular that hit me out of left field was this TV show called Snowpiercer, It's like mankind, humanity, all of humanity is only surviving on this one train. It's like a giant train circling the Arctic or something. It's like post-apocalyptic, and it looks super interesting also. Again, like there's this crazy setting. It kind of draws me in. Other trailers include the new It movie. Super crazy. If you like the first one, I think the second one will be more of the same. Really solid movie overall. Rick and Morty, new season's coming out. Let's jump into this Overwatch news. So Overwatch is adding a role queue to the game. So you can queue up as a tank, which is like, Reinhardt, Roadhog, Orisa. Or you can queue up as damage, and you're locked into those damage characters like Hanzo and McCree. So you can't change it. Once you queue up, you're locked in. Or support, Moira, and so forth, Lucio. And not only are you locked in these roles, you have a separate SR. You have a separate ranking for each role. So you could be like a 3000 SR tank, but you can be a crappy DPS and be like a 2K DPS. When I used to play Overwatch a lot, this is something I craved so much. Like, I don't know if this will actually destroy the game because the game has a lot of freedom of choice. You can switch off on the fly to counter your enemy team and all that stuff. But man, this is something I craved so long, and I'm so happy that they're finally adding it. I think it's going to be overall really beneficial for the game. Every system has their flaws, and there's, nothing's perfect, but I think this is better than it previously was, like the previous system. I remember being in the queue, like when you first join a game, everyone's insta-locking their heroes. It was kind of toxic, Like there's no really discussion, or you try to talk and you lose your character, or people will, the loudest person wins, or if people queue in a 2 or 3 stack, then they're going to overpower you and tell you what to do. I feel like the whole system was kind of led to toxicity because it's just like a free-for-all, but we're supposed to be a team. At least this way, it's like, okay, I'm here to play a support, I'm here to DPS, and you're going to insta-lock your damage. Like that's a little bit better because it's just the 1 or 2 people doing it. Or if you're playing tanks, like, even if you're only good at 1 or 2 tanks, at least you're good at that role versus playing a role that you're not good at. I was always like a flex player. I would pick last because to reduce the toxicity in my games. And like, I didn't really win a lot of games. Like I'm, usually gold damage or gold healing. Not that the medals mean that much, but I feel like I was always like doing my job, and it showed like in the, the play of the games or the medals and stuff. I feel like I was always doing my job, but I didn't really win that much in Overwatch. So maybe this system will create more structure, and maybe people will be more, even more identity. It might create more identity to your role. Like you could say you play Overwatch, but now you're like a real support main. You're a real DPS main. It almost gives you more pride. Like it gives you more identity. Like in RPGs, they have those mastery classes or ascendancy classes where you're like, okay, I'm not just a warrior, I'm a dark knight or I'm a paladin, right? It's almost like a mastery of the game. I think it's pretty cool. I think if you play all 3, then you'll get like some kind of extra bonus or spray, or you'll earn, how you can earn points to unlock like the golden guns and skins. I think you can earn that with all 3. So if you play all 3 roles, you get like all kinds of points. You get 3 times the points now. If you want to know when it comes out, it's on the PTR right now, and the role queue will fully be available for quick play and competitive play beginning on September 1st, starting the competitive season 18. So for season 18, wait a minute, Diablo is also in season 18. I just thought of that. Wait a minute. Diablo and Overwatch are going to get season 18 the same month. That's kind of interesting. They're cutting season 17 early for Overwatch to make this change because I think they wanted to line it up with esports. That just about does it for today's podcast. If you want to support, you can always leave a rating or a like on whatever platform you watch it on. Leave a comment on YouTube. Like, subscribe. You can subscribe everywhere, even on Patreon, on YouTube, on Twitch. You can show your love anywhere. I'd appreciate it. Next week's podcast will probably be filled with Diablo content, as I really truly believe we're getting the PTR this week. We'll probably be playing it right now, like I said earlier, and it'll just be like just a deep dive into the PTR And there's not much I like more in life than a Diablo PTR. It gets me all excited. Yo, the PTR was out during Thanksgiving last year, and I was very close to skipping Thanksgiving with the family because I only had a week. We only have a week to test these things, and then it's gone, right? So I have to not only learn, master, make the builds, make starter guides, basically get 30 videos worth of information. I usually do like 20 to 30 videos every season. Get all this information in a week and somehow digest it and make sense of it all. And it really just, it's a lot. And yeah, I went to Thanksgiving, so don't worry. I went to Thanksgiving. I didn't skip out on the family, but I considered it, man. You know, because we only have a week. They changed it. At some point, they only started giving us a week for the PTR, and it puts a lot of pressure on creators. But it also doesn't spoil too much for the season, so I can see both sides like always, you know? It doesn't spoil it. I'm not spending too much time with it, but I do need to bust my ass during that week to get all the work done. But chat, that's it. I can babble, I can talk all day long. I can't wait to see you guys next week. Hopefully we get some juicy details on the PTR. This is the Bloodshed, and I'm out of here. Peace.